Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we've got a really fascinating date to chew on, June 30th, 2025. And the question is, can ancient biblical texts actually give us any insight into such a specific future date? Our mission here is to explore this, but specifically through the lens of scholar J. Barton Payne. We want to see what he might consider a literal prediction. We'll be looking at some verses from the Charles Thomson Bible and also the Urim Thummim version, that historical text sometimes associated with divine guidance.
Right, and to really get anywhere with this, you have to understand Payne's whole approach, his methodology. He wasn't just, reading casually. He had this very conservative and critical framework. It was designed specifically to pin down what he saw as legitimate predictions. I mean, he actually cataloged over 8,000 verses he identified as predictive, and the absolute core of it was his commitment to literal interpretation, taking the words basically at face value. For Payne, this wasn't chaos. It was about seeing a divine design playing out.
Okay, so with that strict framework, how does it help us think about a date like June 30th, 2025? Well, you mentioned one of his key ideas is imminency. What does that really mean in his context? It wasn't quite that Christ's return was like tomorrow guaranteed, more that it could be.
Exactly. It's the idea that it could occur any day, any moment. Constant readiness was key. He thought the establishment of Christ's eschatological kingdom, it was conceived as capable of overtaking believers basically at any time.
Right.
And, if you link that idea of imminency to his wider view, his post-tribulational eschatology, which, just to clarify, means he believed the rapture and second coming happened after the tribulation period, then June 30, 2025. Well, it just cannot be the date of the second coming itself in his system.
Okay. That makes sense. It would contradict the whole no one knows the day or hour idea if you could pinpoint the date.
Precisely. So a specific date like this would point to something else, something within that pre-second coming timeline, probably, a major sign of the times, something that really ramps up awareness.
Okay, so if it's not the event, what kind of literal prediction could Payne's framework suggest for that specific date, especially thinking about his focus on literal prophecies about the nation of Israel? This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is where his literalism really comes into play. Based on that strict approach, Payne might actually point towards something like a literal public reestablishment of a significant ancient boundary or territory for the nation of Israel, or maybe, a major declaration about Jerusalem's status, something internationally recognized that really shakes up the current geopolitical situation.
Wow. Okay, that's incredibly specific. So not the ultimate event, but a really profound catalyst, a big step on that timeline.
Exactly, a catalyst. It fits his framework because it's not the second coming, but it is a clear, literal fulfillment, a fulfillment of maybe a smaller but still foundational prophetic piece about Israel's land or its sovereignty.
Okay, and how does this connect back to the sources we mentioned, like the Thomson Bible or the Urim Thummim version?
Well, it connects to that idea of non-random content found across these texts. The idea that God's actions are purposeful. Think about it from the deliberate act of creation in Genesis 1, verses 1-3, to God's, enduring faithfulness to Israel, their promised regathering mentioned in Deuteronomy 30. An event like the one we're speculating about would, in Payne's view, just further demonstrate God's deliberate plan unfolding, not random at all.
So it would serve to kind of heighten that global awareness of impending end-time events.
Absolutely. Prompting perhaps greater watchfulness, just like Matthew 24 advises. The real takeaway isn't just fixating on the date itself, June 30, 2025. It's more about how Payne's rigorous method suggests. Well, it suggests that even seemingly minor geopolitical shifts could be interpreted as these literal fulfillments. It demands a level of maybe global awareness, attention to detail that we might not usually link with ancient scriptures.
It really shows how, through a framework like Payne's, these texts aren't just seen as separate stories.
Not at all. They're viewed as a coherent narrative, divinely authored with a clear direction, a purpose, unfolding through history.
So thinking about all this, here's something for you, our listener, to consider. If these ancient texts might contain such clear, purposeful patterns, according to this framework, what patterns or maybe historical movements do you see unfolding right now that could possibly point towards some larger predetermined narrative? Something to think about.